When you're a parent of a child with a disability, your to-do list isn't just long, it's a living document that gets rewritten every single day. One minute you're on a roll, and the next, a crisis hits, and your perfectly planned day falls completely apart. So how do you find peace and a sense of accomplishment when chaos is your constant companion? That's the question we're tackling today. Welcome to the Water Prairie Chronicles, a podcast for parents of children with disabilities. I'm your host, Tonya Wollum, and I'm glad you're here. In this episode, I'm sitting down with Jen Anderson, the brilliant mind behind the to-do app, Accomplist. Jen is a master at helping imperfect humans like us stay productive without the pressure of perfection. We're going to talk about shifting our mindset, embracing a more flexible approach to productivity, and why skipping a task might be the most productive thing you do all day. Let's get started. Jen, welcome to Water Prairie.
Thanks so much for having me.
So today we're going to be talking about tips on how to stay productive, and we're going to be referencing, or at least when I'm asking questions of Jen, I'm going to be referencing an app that she's developed called the Accomplist app. So listeners, so that you know what we're talking about, I'm going to put links in the show notes so that you can go to her website or you can look at the apps themselves, and you can download a free trial of them. So if you want to try them out, you can. That will be in the show notes on the webpage and in the description of the video. So wherever you're consuming this interview will be somewhere in those notes. But before we get into the questions, Jen, share with us a little bit so that our listeners know where your connection is with the disability community.
For starters, I'm on the autism spectrum and anxiety and depression and all that jazz. And about 10 years ago, I was a foster mom to a teenage girl who had oppositional defiance disorder and attachment disorders and anxiety and depression. And it's just constant crisis mode. And so I know how difficult it is to just get anything done when there's just so many more obstacles between A and B.
Absolutely. And it speaks even more your authority in being able to talk about the topic that we're going to talk about here. I have some questions I'm going to ask you. Before we get into that, I just kind of wanted to share where I am. I use, and our listeners may relate to this, as a mom who has, for all points and purposes, ADHD. I don't have a formal diagnosis, but I have so many of the behavior characteristics that my family says that it's pretty much there. I've found ways to keep myself from having the 50 different projects that have one piece done. And part of that is I have a calendar app that the family uses. I have a scheduling app that I use for my coaching calls. I use a scheduling app for guests for the podcast. I have personal goals where I work through fasting and tracking my eating and my exercise patterns just for my own personal health, but trying to develop healthy goals. I use apps for that. And I've just started using one that actually I think is going to be the game changer for me, and that's helping me get those 50 projects that are always inside my head onto an app so that I can separate them and all. And in looking at what Accomplist is, I think it's doing probably a little bit of all of these things. So I'm really excited about hearing how you're going to interweave this as I learn along with our listeners with it. So I don't know, listeners, if you're using different apps, tell me in the comments what you're using it for. I'd love to see kind of where are you leaning into technology already. And if you've never done it before, leave a comment on there. I'm a pen and paper person. So that's kind of where I'm starting from, Jen, to give you an idea of where my chaotic brain has found a little bit of peace, but it's always fun to chase after the next thing. So I'm a true squirrel mind, if you want to look at it that way. A lot of our listeners are parents of children with disabilities. Some of our audience is not there. They're actually support family or professionals who are working with them. But the group that I'm usually trying to talk to in the podcast are those parents that are out there. And I know right now we're recording this at the end of the summer. You can be listening to this right after school goes back. And parents, you probably have a to-do list that's a mile long right now because you've got all the back-to-school things going on. If you haven't done your back-to-school shopping yet, you've got to get the Lysol wipes and the tissues and all those things that your child needs to take back to school, the backpack, the lunch boxes, and that's on top of your normal daily list that has a ton of things. And our parents not only have all those things that every parent in the world has to deal with, but they have a lot of unexpected interruptions that come on. It might be a tantrum that just happened, or their child needs more hands-on help to do things, so they have to stop and drop that list as they're working on it. What's a good first step that stressed out mom or dad can take to kind of shift their mindset from a traditional linear view of things, where they have to do from point A to point B to point C, and now they just got disrupted, so throw it all away because I can't do anything else. Is there a way to change your mindset so that the unpredictable part of life doesn't get in the way of trying to make progress?
Absolutely. It's a little flippant, but you probably end the day feeling like you didn't get enough done. And all you're seeing is what you didn't do. And
Yeah.
that's not helpful. That because you're putting all this extra energy into feeling inadequate, when in fact you did 10 times what anyone else did today. And you're doing fine. So if you have a paper system for a to-do list, don't just cross things out because that's just done or not done. And then all you see at the end of the day is what's not crossed out. If instead of crossing things out, you put different codes like you would if you use the app, where you could mark something skipped or completed or delegated, or you can just, defer it. One thing that I really like about the Accomplist app is there's no such thing as overdue. There's no overdue. There's no bright red. You're not getting, you didn't do it. It's fine. But it will show up on your automatically generated today list, and it will stay there until you get it done. But it's not going to be bright red or overdue or anything like that. And you can mark it skipped, and that's fantastic because you are trying to do too much. And so that's the actually that's the idea behind the app, is that it is going to retrain your brain so that you learn that, yeah, you are trying to do too much, and just to normalize the idea that you're not going to get to everything. You have dreams and ambitions, and you have standards, and they're always going to be higher than what you can achieve.
We talk a lot on the podcast about how disability parents specifically have a mindset shift that they have to do as soon as they get a diagnosis. But then it's continuously shifting as their child grows. Because when you start out, whether you got a diagnosis of Down syndrome when your child was born, or maybe even before they were born, you made a shift then from what your expectation had been to what you think it might be, but you don't really know yet because you haven't met the child yet. As that baby starts showing you what they're capable of doing, because every child's not going to be a textbook case, they're going to be their own unique little bundle of joy that's coming through. You're shifting again. We have other parents who, for all points and purposes, they had a traditional child that's, they're meeting all those milestones, everything's doing fine, and they get into second grade, and now they know they have dyslexia and dysgraphia and, different issues that are going on, and anxiety is creeping up now because of all these other conflicts that they have. And so they're having to shift now. So our parents are used to shifting. But I think you hit something there, that looking at our child and shifting those expectations are difficult, but we don't do it to ourselves. We keep ourselves on that straight and narrow, that we have to do this, we have to look like this, we have to accomplish all of this. And you're right, at the end of the day, that checklist that has actually more things on it than what you started the day with, but even though you've marked off a lot of things, you're still adding more things to. And the more you try to break it down into micro steps, you just have a page full of paper of written things on it that it can't even be deciphered anymore. So then you start tomorrow rewriting that entire list and not getting anything else done. I like the idea that you're mentioning, that it just defaults to tomorrow. And I think that grace and forgiveness that we need to give ourselves, that, all right, so we did today what we had to do. And what we had to do was we had to take care of ourselves and give ourselves some grace and some peace. We had to love our family and take care of our kids, because we love doing that anyway. And those things that we did were what was important for today. Tomorrow, whatever wasn't important today might be more important tomorrow. And I like that we're not beating ourselves up at the end of the day. We can actually close the to-do list and spend some time with our family before we go to bed at night.
Yeah, and the thing is that we tend to forget that raising a child is a project. It's a long-term project. It's just like knitting a sweater. Every little stitch matters. And if your tension is a little off or whatever, fine. It'll actually, when you wash it, it'll all even out. Raising a kid, every time that you stop everything to deal with their needs and a meltdown or whatever, that is part of that project. You are being very productive there.
And you don't want to miss the joys in the day. if you're so focused on this list that you have to get done, you're going to miss the sweet little moment when they wanted to come and give you a little hug, because you're so focused on this. So parents, you have permission to take a moment and enjoy life as it's happening right then. And then the list is still going to be there. It's your dishes do have to be done eventually because you're going to want to eat again and use those dishes. So, Jen, one thing that I noticed when I was looking through the website, you have a feature on the app that I haven't seen on any of these other tools that I'm using, and it's the skipped feature.
Yes.
So, we have parents who have tasks that get left undone. It might be as simple as changing that light bulb in the lamp on the counter. That is just one more thing because you've got to go to the store, you've got to get the bulb, you've got to do all these things. It might be a 5 minute job if you actually could focus on it, but by the time you get to it, it's all done. What are the emotional and psychological benefits of actually skipping a task instead of letting it sit on that list and never get done?
Well, if you skip it, it's just this weight off your shoulders that you've decided, you know what, I'm not doing that. And sometimes it's something like, okay, I need to download some sample wills that we have to do. Which, yeah, you should actually do that. You've got you got kids, you do your will. But it's something like, okay, I need to call this friend of me who I don't really like talking to. Oh, I got to call my mother again and listen to whatever. Yeah, maybe you're not going to do that. Maybe I'm not going to dust the baseboards. It's a lovely thing to think that I would be able to do that, but it's not going to happen. So, you can just let it sit there. But if you skip it, then yeah, you're punting it for, out the window. You just,
Right.
maybe I'll do it eventually. Maybe I'll want to do it again eventually. It's just not going to happen. And it's just this one less thing that you need to worry about.
I think we all do that in some way, but we don't usually think about it until we're at our wits' end at the end.
Right.
And then, we're so exhausted and exasperated that it's like, well, I'm just not going to do this. Where I like that peace that can come from saying, it's okay if I don't do this. Or maybe you were talking about delegation. Maybe I'm going to call and have my brother go and do such and such instead. Or maybe it's something the kids can do. Maybe it's a skill that you need to teach your child how to do, and they can take the trash from the bathroom into the kitchen trash can, or something that's within their range of doing, but it's one less thing for you to have to do. So parents, we just recently had an episode where you learned about how to help your child become more independent. And I'd encourage you to think about what you learned in that one and how you can manage your to-do list with this delegation feature of it. It'd be an easy way for you to start working on training your child with some skills that you want them to learn as you look at your to-do list. Maybe there's something you've been controlling that you can let them do to allow you to have a little bit more and use that delegation option with it.
Absolutely. And even something like changing that light bulb in the kitchen. The reason that you keep putting it off is because it does require a trip to the store. And you do need to remember, okay, what's the style light bulb? You get to the store and there's just so many light bulbs. Right.
Right, right.
So, yeah, assign a kid to that. Figure it out. Okay, we're going to go to the store. Okay, find the light bulb. Let them do it and make it more of a fun trip to the hardware store. But also one
Right.
thing.
Well, and now you're teaching them a life skill.
Exactly. But any project is going to be a lot bigger than you think it is because it's all these little steps that you forget. And so there's a lot of different ways you can track that. You can make that big messy list on paper you were talking about, but do that for separate projects. Make the messy list and then figure out, okay, what order can I get this done in? What are the dependencies? And then make a list that is in order so that it is actually orderly, because you started neat and you get messy and you get overwhelmed. But no, you can neaten that up. That was actually an important step in the process, is
Right.
figuring out all the little things that have to get done. And that 5 minute
So
task is like half an hour. It depends on how far the hardware store is.
right, right. But you had a car ride with your child, you had some extra conversation time, you got something out of it at the same time if you involved your child with it. I've watched on your website the video that you have that kind of walks you through the different features of the app. And I'd encourage listeners to go and look at that just to get you an idea of what the app looks like. Right now, I probably have easily 20 projects that are going on at one time. And so what I typically will do is, I'm at the point where I need to do a major cleaning in the house. So I always have it broken down by room. And so there's a checklist for each one. And then within that checklist, it's down to sorting the boxes because there's always something it's been probably 2 years since I've done this. So we've got storage things around that just need to be taken out. And then I'm separating between donation and if we're going to do a yard sale or not. I sell on eBay. So if there is something that would go on that, or if I'm going to keep it. So the checklist for the donation list for taxes, if I'm going to sell on eBay, the checklist with that. So there's a lot of list involved with what I'm doing with this whole house project that I'm working on. And so on the app, can you so say I'm working on this just the house cleaning project. So the room I'm in right now is the old playroom. I have a curtain behind me because behind the curtain is the boxes. So going through all that, these are the old toys and stuff of the kids, trying to sort through what do they want to keep, what can I get rid of now. Is there a way to make a list and then to make a checklist within that list so that at the end of the day I can look at it and see, all right, so I've already checked off two things in the living room. One thing, while the rice is cooking in the kitchen, I can go through one box in the playroom and I can check off that section of what I had on my list. Is there a way to kind of like nest the list?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways that you can do it. You can create separate lists entirely. So you could have one that is, just list is for cleaning the house, and then maybe have a different task for each room, and then subtasks within those tasks of within the rooms of things you do. Or you might want to be like, okay, make a list of things for donations, and then the subtasks are living room, bedroom, bathroom, etc. And so you could do it either way. But yeah, the subtasks you can actually make as many lists as you want.
For me, I need to see progress. So the more I can break down a task, the more I see progress is happening because the list is getting shorter. And and on yours, whenever you mark off an item, does it disappear or does it just have a check mark in it?
It stays there. If it's a subtask, it stays there checked. I possibly crossed out. If it is on your today list and you mark it completed, then it stays there, but it shows up as crossed out. And there are
Okay.
automatic lists for delegated and completed, so you can see what you finished, when you finished it. If you need to follow up on things that you delegated, you can go to the delegation list and see what's in there, and you can mark that completed if it is actually completed.
So we can gamify all the things that we do throughout the day, and we can, at the end of the day, we can see all this progress that was made. So parents, whenever you're at the end of the day and you're exhausted and you're thinking, I got nothing done, this is going to be a way that you can go back and look and see, look at all these things that I did. And the more micro you make your steps, the more success you have.
Yes. And also, there is an integrated habit tracker, which I just
Oh,
love
nice.
because those little habits, those 10 minutes of mindfulness or your meditation break or whatever, if it's not on my to-do list, I'm not going to remember to do it. So having it
Right.
on the list reminds me to do it. And then the habit tracker is just it's like a report. You see by week whether you did something or not. And it shows up as a
Okay.
repeating task, and you just track it as a habit, and maybe you do it today, maybe you don't. One of the major reasons that I created this app is that with other to-do apps, if you have something that is a repeating task, if it's daily or weekly, whatever, if you don't do it, it will carry over and be read and overdue. And let's say
Right.
you
Right.
want to do something podcast related every day. And if you do it 4 days out of the week, that's fantastic. And if you didn't do it yesterday, you're not going to do it twice today.
Yeah.
So the app treats repeating tasks as separate things. So you don't
Right.
have this, okay,
Right.
I didn't do this for like a week, so I had to click, did it, and lie to the app to get it off my back. That's not an issue here.
Yeah, and it's true because because developing a new habit, and that's a lot of times that's what a goal is trying to get you to. You're not going to do it every day and do it right up front. or maybe your goal is to walk 3 times a week, so it's not an everyday thing. And so on the days like I have on my phone, I have an iPhone, it has the walking app that just came with it. And so whatever this number of steps for the day is, I have a lot of orange on mine because I didn't walk that many steps that day. And so now when you look at it, there's very few green peaks that are in it. And it just and the colors that they chose, green is like a happy one and the orange is like negative. So when you look at the app, it's like, well, it's not reinforcing anything good because I'm not necessarily going to be motivated by the negative part of it.
Exactly. And if you went for a walk for 2 days, that's good too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm going to move to the day in the life segment. Listeners, if you've been with us this season, you know that I've been asking each of my guests to describe something about a day in the life. It's just a way for you to get to know them better. What's a task that you do pretty much every single day that helps you stay grounded or productive? So no matter what else is going on in your life, you're going to do this no matter what.
Read every day. Right now, I've got several books going. I've got one on my Kindle, and one audiobook I'm listening to myself, and then one audiobook I'm listening to with my husband because he works from home, so we have a little time together. I actually created a shelf called On Deck because it's books that that are up next. And if nothing else, I listen to an audiobook while playing some video games.
Jen, how can they get in touch with you if they have any questions or they want to talk to you directly?
Oh, well, they can email me at jen@accomplist.app, and they can go to the website. That is accomplist.app. It's Accomplist is accomplish with a T instead of an H. So watch out for your autocorrect because it took me a while to train mine. And on Facebook and Instagram, it's at Team Accomplist.
All right, so what I'm going to do, listeners, I've got the website. I'm going to put that link in the show notes. If you click on the help button, then that's going to take you to a page that at the bottom, her email is there, and all of the social media links are on the top of that page. So if you just go to her website, you'll be able to get to everything, including on the homepage for the website are the direct links to the App Store and the Google Play Store. So you'll be able to get there with everything. Well, Jen, thank you for sharing this all with us. I'm curious what we're going to hear in the comments. Listeners, if you didn't go down and leave your comment, I want to hear whether you use paper or what you're using apps for, and if you want to leave any feedback, we'd appreciate that too. You could leave it as an Apple review, or you can leave it as a comment on the YouTube video. Thank you for sharing all of this with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
I don't know about you, but I'm going to be looking at my own to-do list with a lot more grace and flexibility after hearing Jen's advice. If you want to learn more about Jen's work or check out the Accomplist app, you can find all the links in our show notes. If you connected with this episode, please share it with a friend that you think might want to hear it, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts to help other parents find us there. And if you haven't done so, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode of the podcast. Thanks for joining me today. Remember to give yourself grace, celebrate the small victories, and I'll see you next time.